Hey scholars, welcome back to Math Savvy. Today we are talking about the SAT, and you probably clicked on this video because you are taking it very soon and you want to be very efficient with your studying, right? So today I'm going to try and cover as much as I can in a short amount of time about the SAT. I want to give you test taking tips. I want to show you how to boost your score, really. Okay, so scholars, as I was filming this video, I was going to cover both English and math all in one, but I decided to break it up into two separate videos so it is not as overwhelming. So before we get into this, I'm going to give you a little breakdown of what is happening. First, I will give you an overview of the structure of the test, and then I will give you some test taking tips that will help you throughout the whole exam. And then the rest of the video is going to cover how to ace the reading and writing portion by going through each type of questions on the test. Okay, that's a funny face that I'm making. People are still taking the SAT. I know it's going around that the SAT is dying out, but it's still a thing. People still want to do very well on it, I guess. When I took the SAT, it was in person. It was a written exam. It's online now, apparently. There are three sections, actually. The first section is going to be the reading and writing, and then we have math. Each of the first two sections have two modules within that section. There's two modules with English reading, writing, that is both 32 minutes, 27 questions. So that's 54 questions total reading. Then we have math, which is two sections, both 35 minutes, so a little bit longer, with 22 questions each. Okay, so there are four parts. Let's start with some overall tips that I think you can benefit from. So, 1, stressing never helps. It never helps. Yes, we deal with stress, we're humans, but there's a couple things that you could do to reduce stress during the test. If you want to do like a bunch of jumping jacks exercise before you do the SAT, so your body's more relaxed, that's helpful. For me, whenever I take tests and I'm kind of overwhelmed, I kind of just sit down, take a deep breath, and I'm like, okay, I'm treating this like a game. This is not a competitive game. This is more of like a puzzle. It's a puzzle. You know, I try and make it as fun as possible because that's how you stay engaged. 2, do not spend too much time on one question. That is a test taking tip that goes for most tests. Try not to spend too much time on one question. 3, I know you probably came to this video because you don't want to take practice tests, you want to avoid them, and you just want to get the last minute info, whatever. But I highly recommend you take a practice test. It's now so easy to study for the SAT for free. I know College Board has this application called Blue Book where you can take an online practice exam. You do it, and it gives you everything you got wrong, everything you got right, and you can practice the specific things that you struggled with, which is amazing. You know, that's so awesome that they give you that. 5, this goes back to do not spend too much time on one question. Mark questions for review. If you struggle with one, I know there's a mark question button that you can click on the SAT. I would do it. If you have extra time, it's always good to go back. 6, okay, so this one is important. Read question first before reading text, and you'll see when I give you some practice examples. So whether it's in the reading portion or the math portion, there's always information that comes with the question. I recommend reading the question first. In the reading portion, they're all similar questions. But in math, if you read the question before, you know exactly what to look for, you know exactly what to do. A lot of people, when they see an equation in the math section, or they see a paragraph in the reading section, their first instinct is to tackle those first. Get the reading done, get the equation solved. No, I never recommend that, because with both situations, you want to read the question to know exactly what you're looking for, to know exactly how to approach the problem, and to analyze all the information that's given to you. Okay, this is what I recommend for these exams. Do not pay too much attention to time because yes, that will contribute to stress. English / writing, reading, writing. I'm going to say English a lot here, but I guess it's called reading, writing. You want to do 60 seconds per question. Some questions might take you longer than that. Some questions will take you like 10, 15 seconds. But that's the average that we calculated to spend on each question. And similarly with math, 90 seconds. Math that gives you more time because there's more work to do. So this is my tip. When you hit the 10 question mark, English, you should have hit the 10 question mark in 11 minutes. So hopefully you do 10 questions when there are 21 minutes left, and you'll see the countdown. For math, about 20 minutes left. So remember these numbers. This is your pacing. If you want to pay attention to time, most people don't. But if you want to pay attention to time, just have that goal in mind, having 10 questions done by when there's 21 or 20 minutes left. Okay, so that's a little bit helpful. Also, guys, I wanted to be so honest, straightforward, and vulnerable. I am not an English tutor. This is my math brain, my logic coming in, helping you guys with strategies on test taking. No, you aren't going to get the best grammar from me. You're not going to get the best vocabulary from me. I'm trying my best, but I feel like my test taking strategies could help you, if you will. So this is my logical brain helping you with your English creative side, okay? Next, I'm going to go through the types of English questions that you're going to see. So what I mean by this is that on the reading portion of the SAT, there are about 8 types of questions that you will see repetitively, and these aren't diversified. You'll see what I mean in the following portion of the video. I'm going to start with the ones that appear the most frequently, according to the practice exams that I looked at, and then I'm going to kind of go down the list. First, we have the standard English / grammar questions. As I said, we want to read the question first. What choice completes the text so that it conforms to the conventions of standard English? Let's look at the choices before, and then let's start reading, okay? I'm not even gonna look into too much detail here. Okay, let's start at this sentence. In 2011, these 2 writers joined forces to found Cake Literacy, a book packaging company specializes. So I'm going to read it to myself. I'm going to notice that it's probably going to be company that. So in standard English, the less commas, the better. When there's a question of comma or no comma, go with the no comma. Most of the time it's going to be no comma because standard English, they don't like commas. Okay, when I took the test, out of the 54 questions, 13 of them were on this. Here's another example. Researchers studying, okay, wait, bad girl. I need to read the question first. Which choice completes the text so that it conforms to the conventions of standard English? Okay, so it's verbiage here. We have to figure out the verb. Usually we have to identify what the subject is in this. So I'm going to go through, not paying attention to details here. We're shocked to realize that the shape of each statue's ears, like the shape of each person's ears, is unique because this is the subject. The shape of each person's ear, or the shape of each statue's ears, the shape of each statue's ears, I'm going to notice that it's the shape as the subject. The shape would mean that the verb has to be singular. So do not, when you see of each statue's ears, after that preposition, it's not going to be the subject. So this exercise tests us on finding the right verb given this sentence, so we have to identify the subject. Okay, so it is it. That's the right answer. Next, this is going to make up 10 questions, about 10 questions on the SAT writing portion, or reading and writing portion, selecting vocabulary / logical and precise word choice. So which choice completes the text with the most logical and precise word or phrase? Okay, so this is just knowing your vocabulary. And I'm just going to read through the choices before I start reading the passage. Researchers stress that biodiversity loss due to invasive species is one of these. I probably have to read the whole thing to figure out what the best word choice is, and that goes for all of these types of questions. For example, people can take simple steps such as watching their footwear after travel to avoid introducing potentially invasive organisms into new environments. So I'm going to notice because of this, people can take simple steps such as, it sounds like preventable. Okay. So I know this because I just know what all of these words mean. It's not going to be common. I don't think it's undeniable. Yeah, it's not undeniable. It's not concerning. So it's really just what you think is best. Now, for these types of questions, if you struggle with vocabulary, I highly recommend downloading this app that I use. I use it for fun just because I like to build my vocabulary. Vocabulary is not my strong suit. So the link to the app is in the description. Not sponsored or whatever, but this has really helped me. It helps you to develop your SAT vocab words, and you can just do this on your free time while you study, whatever. I know most of you probably don't have that much time left, but if you struggle with vocabulary, I would download that app and start testing your vocabulary now. Okay, so here is the next most frequently repeated type of English questions. It's called the transitional word choice. Which choice completes the text with the most logical transition? Keyword transition here. Okay, so first I'm going to go to the next slide really quick. So these are the types of transition words. So there are three types. There's the addition, there's the contrast, and there's the causation. So in addition means that the two claims are connected. The second claim is usually going to be an example. It's going to be a summary. It's going to be something like that. So these are example of addition transition words. So in other words, furthermore, finally, similarly, for example, specifically. If the two claims that you're trying to find a transition for are opposites, are contrasting, then you're going to use one of these contrasting words. These are just some examples. They aren't all of them, but nevertheless, nonetheless, still, however, etc. So these are contrasting words. And then finally, you have causation. So one thing leads to another. So the one claim, you need a transition for what happens subsequently. So we have therefore, thus, hence, consequently, subsequently. So now let's look at an example. Which choice completes the text with the most logical transition? So I'm going to read this. I'm going to look for the two claims and determine whether they are addition, contrasting, or causation. Okay, so some members of the U.S. Supreme Court have resisted calls to televise the court's oral arguments, concerned that the participant would be tempted to perform for the cameras and thus lower the quality of the discourse. Okay, so that's one part. That's probably going to be the first claim. Blank, the justices worry that most viewers would not even watch the full deliberations, only short clips that could be misinterpreted and mischaracterized. So I'm noticing that these two claims are related. So there's an addition, it's going to be additionally here. For example is also an additive claim. However, this wouldn't be an example. This is more of like bringing forth another point. It's not however, and it's not in comparison because they're not two differing points. We have 4 questions regarding like a literature or poetry analysis. So I saw 1 poetry and there were about 3 literature analysis. Okay, so what is the main idea of the text? Okay, simple as that. Weary with toil, I hurry to my bed. The dear repose for my limbs with travel tired, but then begins a journey in my head to work my mind when body's work expired. For then my thoughts from far where I abide begin a zealous pilgrimage to thee and keep my drooping eyelids open wide. Okay, the speaker is asleep and dreaming about traveling to see the friend. See, he's not dreaming. He's awake to work my mind. He's not dreaming. The speaker is planning an upcoming trip to the friend's house. I don't think so. The speaker is too fatigued to continue a discussion with the friend. There is no discussion going on. The speaker is thinking about the friend instead of immediately falling asleep. That makes the most sense because he has an active mind here. So it says, begin a zealous pilgrimage to thee in his mind. So yes, D makes the most sense. Trust your intuition, my friends. There are 5 questions on these kind of research or nonfiction articles that you have to analyze. Okay, so a lot of these are very wordy, and they're also words that you aren't used to reading. And that's why I always highlight them, color code them, so I can easily go back to what these words are. Black beans. Oh wait, let's read the question first. Which finding of the research, if true, would most likely to support their claim? So you're trying to find a claim and then figure out what supports it. Okay, so black beans are a nutritionally dense food, but they are difficult to digest in part because of their high levels of fiber and this compound, which I'm not going to say. In fact, I'm going to underline that. They also contain anti-nutrients like tannins and trypsin inhibitors, which interfere with the body's ability to extract nutrients from foods. Okay, so that is a reason why it's hard to digest. In a research article, these 2 people claim that inducing fermentation of black beans using lactic acid bacteria improves the digestibility of the beans and makes them more nutritious. Okay, so we know that inducing fermentation improves the digestibility and makes them more nutritious. Okay, so these people like fermentation for black beans. When cooked, fermented beans contain significantly more of these things, but significantly less fiber than non-fermented beans. No way. I don't think that, it said nothing like that, so I'm going to move on. Fermented beans contain significantly less soluble fiber and raffinose than non-fermented beans, and when cooked, the fermented beans also displayed a significant reduction. Okay, that can make sense because it talked about how unfermented beans have a lot of that fiber and that raffinose, and so that can make sense. Let's go with the other. Let's see what the other choices say though. When the fermented beans were analyzed, they were found to contain these microorganisms that are theorized to increase the amount of nitrogen absorbed by the gut. Okay, so that doesn't have anything to do with what we just read. So okay, so that doesn't have anything to do with what we just read. So let's move on. Both of them contain significantly fewer inhibitors and tannins after being cooked. Okay, it doesn't really talk about being cooked. So it's B. I'm gonna go with B. Everything in this finding had to do with what we talked about here. So when they bring up something new, it's like, okay, you're wrong. Bye. Okay, next. Okay, so this is related to the last type of question, but there's another element, which is some data. Okay, so this is going to be a little bit tough, but let's pray and hope for the best. Which choice most effectively uses data from the table to complete the example? So we have this data. I don't even know. I have no idea what's going on here, but we're going to see. Earth's atmosphere is bombarded by cosmic dust originating from all of these sources, which are all of these sources. Some of the dust material vaporizes in the atmosphere in a process called ablation, and the faster the particles move, the higher the rate of ablation. Juan Diego led a team that calculated average ablation rates for elements in the dust, so that's what this is, and showed that a material in SPC or AST dust has a lower rate than the same material in the faster moving HTC or OCC. Okay, so we have low rates of iron, potassium, sodium in these two, and then higher rates here. So, for example, whereas the average ablation rate for iron from AST dust is 28%, here the average rate for iron from SPC dust is 20%, sodium from OCC dust is 100%. I would say that we want to stick to the same iron. The point is that these two have a lower rate than those two. So what we want to do is compare the rate for the AST dust to one of these. So HGC or OCC. So I'm going to go with B or with C because we have the same element, iron, but we are comparing these two. And it is proving the rate that this ablation rate, or it's proving the point that this ablation rate is going to be higher than this one. Okay. Okay. So that is an example of interpreting data. A lot of these have to do with reading. And then, so you want to read and then look at the data. And you're trying to figure out how you can properly demonstrate what the passage says with the data. So it's matching data to a main point of a passage. Okay, that's kind of hard, but I would try my best on this. Drawing conclusions from notes. So the student wants to present the study and its conclusion. Which choice most effectively uses relevant information from the notes to accomplish this goal? Okay, I'm going to read the notes first. In 2013, archaeologists studied cat bone fragments that they had found in the ruins of this farming village. The fragments were estimated to be this many years old. A chemical analysis of these fragments revealed that the cats had consumed large amounts of grain. The grain consumption is evidence that the cats may have been domesticated. So that's probably going to have to do with the main point. As a part of this study of cat domestication, a chemical analysis was conducted on cat bone fragments found in... Okay, so that's probably wrong because that has to do with the methodology of the study. It doesn't have anything to do with its findings. A 2013 analysis of cat bone fragments suggests that their cats may have been domesticated. That sounds pretty good. Let's just make sure with these last two. Archaeologists studied what China had eaten more than 5,000 years ago. Okay, so that's wrong. Cat bone fragments estimated to be that many years old in 2013. That has no conclusion either. So I'm going to go with B. Okay, yay. So I have two more types of questions. This one, there were two questions in the first section of the reading portion. So this has to do with determining sentence function in a paragraph. So which choice best describes the function of the second sentence? And then we have to read it, okay? I'll give you a second to read it and then we'll come back. Okay, so let's go through each of these examples. It explains how the work of Nance and colleagues was received by others in the field. No, that's wrong. It represents the central finding reported. No, because it is a different idea from the first. It identifies the problem that Nance and colleagues attempted to solve but did not. Okay, I think that's it because the key words are they are much less confident, however. So that shows, the however shows that it is a contrasting idea from this first sentence. So it's probably the C. It describes a serious limitation. Okay, no, I don't think that's a serious limitation. Okay, so that, I only saw that 2 times in my practice test. So not too important there, but it's a good type of question, I guess. Okay, so this is the last type. There were 1 question on comparing 2 claims. I'm not going to do this one. I'm going to let you try this one. But I just wanted to give you this example if you wanted to try this one. I'm not going to do it since it's only 1 question out of 54 questions, and I'm like, ugh, whatever, you know. Other things are more important. Okay, so that was the English portion. Okay, you guys, that's the end of the video. I will have the math portion out perhaps by next week. Good luck studying. I hope this was helpful for you. Thanks, guys.